This last video is 10.4, 1 through 6, and 10.5, 9, 10, 13, and 14. Okay, 10.4 is where we're really getting into the nitty-gritty. We're beginning to find out what breaking down radicals is going to do for us. Okay, I've partially did number 1, square root of 8, which breaks down because you've got to take the square root of 4 into that 8, and the square root of 4 is 2, and then the other factor is 2 inside the radical. Square root of 32, square root of 16 goes into 32, and the square root of 16 is 4 square root of 2. Those two are alike, so negative 2 square root of 2 is the answer to number 1. Okay, in more detail, number 2, square root of 27 minus square root of 75. Square root of 27, find the biggest square root that goes into 27. That is 9. You can take the square root of 9. That's what we're looking for. Square root of 9 times 3 is 27. The square root of that 9 is 3, so 3 square root of 3. The biggest square root that goes into 75 is 25. 25 times 3 is 75. Square root of 25 is 5. Those two are alike because both have square root of 3, so negative 2 square root of 3. Number 3, 2 square root of 2x cubed plus 4 square root of 8x is 10x square root of 2x. More breaking down. Number 4 is like it. Number 4, 3 square root of 45 x cubed plus x square root of 5x. On the first part of it, 3, then the square root of 45, we break down 45. 9 goes into it 5 times, and we need the 9 because we can take the square root of it. Square root of 9 is 3, so we'd have 3 times 3 times square root of 5. The x cubed, we can't take a square root of because the 2 on the index doesn't go into evenly into the 3. So we break down to x cubed to x squared and x to the first. Now the 2 on the index goes into the x squared, making x to the first, and the square root of x left. 3 times 3 is 9. Then this x, square root of 5x, left inside the radical. And the other term, x square root of 5x, cannot be broken down any because nothing goes into 5 that you can take the square root of. Those two are like terms. Notice they're alike. Both have x and square root of 5x. So we add 9 and 1, 10, x square root of 5x. Number 5, 2 square root of 50 minus 3 square root of 125 plus square root of 98 comes out to 17 square root of 2 minus 15 square root of 5. Number 6, 4 square root of 32. I'll start on it. What goes into 32 that you can take the square root of? Well, the biggest thing you can take the square root of that goes into 32 is 16. So 16 times 2 gives you the 32. Then the square root of 16 is 4. So that 4 times the 4 we had out in front to begin with is 16 square root of 2. Now the square root of 18. The largest square root or square that goes into 18 is 9. 9 times 2 gives you 18. The square root of 9 is 3. So minus 3 square root of 2. 128. A lot of things go into 128 that you can take the square root of. But the biggest square that goes into 128 is 64. 64 times 2 is 128. The square root of 64 is 8. So 2 times 8, 16 square root of 2. These three are alike. So you add 16 minus 3 is 13 plus 16, 29 square root of 2. Then the next lesson, 10.5, is on breaking down, simplifying, rationalizing the denominator, excuse me. Number 9, 3 over the square root of 8x comes out to 3 square root of 2x over 4x. 5 over the square root of 27a. first thing you do before you worry about getting rid of the radical in the denominator is simplify any radicals you can. 9 goes into 27, and 9's important because we can take the square root of it. Square root of 9 times 3 is 27. Square root of that 9 is 3, so 3 square root of 3a. Then we have 5 over 3 square root of 3a. We multiply by the square root on top and bottom, so we get 5 square root of 3a. On top, on the bottom, we get the 3 we had out in front. These two times each other is square root of 9a squared. And the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of a squared, again, 2 into 2 is 1, so 3a. So 5 square root of 3a over 9a. 13 is 9 over the square root of 3a. Comes out to 3 square root of 3a over a when we simplify. X over the square root of 5. Don't have to simplify anything, so all we have to do is multiply by that square root we had in the denominator on top and bottom. That way we get x square root of 5 on top. On the bottom, square root of 5, and square root of 5 is square root of 25, and the square root of that 25 is 5. So x square root of 5 over 5. Then on 10.6, I'll also include this, the last part of the assignment, solving radicals. You've got to check these. You've got to check these, and I'll talk about that. Number 1, square root of 2x equals 4. The answer for x is 8. Square root of 3x equals 3. When your x is inside the radical, you must get that term by itself if it isn't already. Then square it, because you've got to get that x out of the radical. Square root of 3x squared, and therefore you square the 3 also. 3 times 3 is, of course, 9. Square root of 3x and square root of 3x, when you take a square root times itself, it just gives you the part on the inside. Square root of 3x and square root of 3x is square root of 9x squared, which is 3x when you take the square root. 3x equals 9. Divide by 3, x equals 3. Then we check by putting that 3 back in the original. 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Does check. Number 3, square root of x minus 3 equals 2. When we solve for x equals 7. Number 4, square root of x plus 1 equals 5. Again, our x is inside of a radical, so we've got to square that side because we've got to get it out of the radical. Square root of x plus 1 times square root of x plus 1. Remember, gives you x plus 1. A square root times itself just gives you the inside, x plus 1. 5 squared is 25. Subtract 1, you get 24. But check this. Remember, you got to check. Put 24 back in the original for x. 24 plus 1 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Yes, it checks. Number 5, we see why the checking is important. Square root of 2x equals negative 4. We can't get an answer because the answer comes out to 8. And when we check that, 2 times 8 is 16. The square root of 16, written this way, is positive 4, not negative 4. Number 6, square root of 5x equals negative 5. Again, the x is inside the radical, so we've got to square that left side. Square root of 5x, square root of 5x gives you 5x. Remember that. Equals 25, so x is 5, if it checks. So we put 5 back in the original problem. 5 times 5 is 25. Square root of 25 is positive 5, not negative 5. Because the written this way, the square root is only the positive number. So it doesn't equal negative 5, so there's no solution. That concludes the video for this lesson.